Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere, and even earn money. We like that. All in one place for totally free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your cellular telephone or your computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else, those other places that podcasts are heard.
Video podcasts are also available on Spotify, and when you want to take conversations with your fans to the next level, Q&As and polls are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free, zero catch. We've been using it ever since we started How Long Gone. And ever since I discovered Spotify for Podcasters, I feel like having the option of turning off the Q&As and the polls on the user dashboard has really helped boost my creativity and take it to another level. I highly recommend giving it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started.
Big TJ, how you feeling, baby?
Feeling pretty good. Just finished a workout, a little jump rope sesh. I
love that.
It's been a little too long. I'm trying to get back onto my routine. It's been tough.
Don't worry, when you link back up with me, I'll whip your ass into shape, you little string bean.
Well, that's really the only reason why that's motivated me to get back on my Grussel, is because I'm afraid of that, and I want to make sure that my conditioning is at least somewhat not embarrassing.
Good, thank you. Well, before we got on the phone today to record yet another episode of How Long Gone, I was, obviously scrolling through Twitter. That's kind of what I do. And I saw that.
It's what I do.
I saw that Tyler Perry just went through a breakup. And Jason, it was with a woman. Did you know that?
I mean, I didn't know his sexuality either way. But even though he enjoys, I guess even though he kind of could go both ways, I always felt like he had a straight man's energy.
That's interesting. I guess I just assumed, which makes an ass of you and me, obviously. But I didn't know. So is Tyler Perry a stick man?
Dude, well, it kind of depends on.
He's rich as hell, so he's having no problem pulling tail. Obviously,
I think it depends on what his body count is looking like in terms of. Not a number, not numerically, but just what types of ladies he's going after. I think that says a lot about a man.
It says Tyler Perry and longtime love Jalila Bekele split, and she's pretty, like she's like a beautiful black queen who looks like she would put his little ass in his place.
Yeah,
interesting stuff.
I mean, well, people who have that much power and that much money, they like to get stepped on, don't they?
That's true. She's definitely putting on the Manolos and stepping on his little nuts. You know what I mean? When the door is closed. Some other news on Twitter.com today that sent me reeling is this Spin magazine putting Run the Jewels on the cover as Artist of the Year, which is just like, man, really, guys?
Yeah, did they come out with a record this year?
I'm sure they did. RTJ4 or some other inventive title.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this podcast has been anti RTJ from the jump. I don't know why or what about them bugs us so much. Our condolences to all the Def Jux daddies out there listening.
Yeah, no offense to our Def Jux listeners. It's just, I don't know what it is either about them that is just so deeply lame to me. I honestly, I can't place it.
Killer Mike, I guess he kind of possesses that Questlove energy that I think that we both kind of find annoying, where it's like we can't necessarily pin it down, but it's kind of like when you're the scholar of something, you care about it and you're so close to it that it's almost inherently impossible to not have a corny outlook on it because you're just so. It's just like it's like you can't be a guy who like collects model trains and still be cool. Like you just have to kind of like you give yourself to the craft so much that you're just like, what do you mean you can't do that? Or like, it's all about the freaking hip hop roots and I'll freaking, but like none of them, but they're all just like nerdy, like message board kind of guys at the end of the day, I'm just, it's been a tough day online is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I know. Well, don't worry. The 2020 is almost done and you're going to stop seeing people listing all of their accomplishments on this dumpster fire of a year.
Do you know what I'm talking about though? When people are like, it's mostly writers, of course, that like do a 20 post Twitter thread about all of the stories they wrote. It's like, guys, I follow you. I already saw this when you did it the first time. Like,
right,
what do you?
Right.
I just don't get. It feels pointless to me.
To me, it feels like you're trying to do a pinned tweet for the entire year.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of like, I mean, every creative industry seems to have a little bit of that, like, the year is over, here's all the stuff that I've done, and I want to find out a way to share it with the world. So like my life partner, at the end of every year, she will create like a little handmade zine out of all of her, commercial and editorial work that she's done over the year, and she'll kind of present it in a cool, interesting way, and then send it out to all of her, friends and family and clients that she worked with over the year as a little like, here's what we did.
Yeah, that's different, Jason. But
what I'm
good.
saying, that's the same. That's the same energy that people have, but people who only exist on Twitter are just like, I guess I will just, retweet all of the stuff I already tweeted this year, which seems lazy.
What if I went back and maybe just did the top 10 performing tweets of 2020 and then just reposted them all? You know what I mean? Maybe that's
that's cooler.
Maybe I should just become part of the discourse instead of against it. So.
Okay, well, I know you were referring to people who are just kind of like running down the laundry list of all the things that they did. In terms of like work related, like I interviewed, Naomi Osaka and, for this thingy. And then I did, but I'm more interested in the people who list kind of their tiny victories of the year of like, finally cleaned out that garage that's been bugging me, like whatever it is.
That's because that's your blue collar sticking out.
No, I'm not saying I like that. I'm saying I find that to be even more pathetic and twisted, which makes me want to kind of read more of them as possible. Or just like, I got like I've been working on my Japanese. Like I'm not fluent, but like I'm really proud of where I'm at. Like, or like I wanted to read all the blank books or all that shit.
Did you finally finish the Harry Potter series this year, Jason? Is that what you're saying?
Bro, bad man never read, especially Harry Potter. Come on, dog.
It's just crazy out here, man. I just I'm having a tough time.
Well, the year's almost done. Don't worry. And then
Jason,
TJ is going to be touching down. Don't worry.
That's another line of thinking is that like, guys, things don't get better because the calendar changes. That's not like a real thing. Like the climate of the universe does not systemically shift because the calendar turns over and we go from 2020 to 2021. That's not how things work.
Well, depending on what spiritual plane you're operating on, Chris, it just might.
Good point. Yeah,
I mean, in your pragmatic, literal, binary world, that is correct. But depending on how much tree you're puffing every day, you could be living on altered states. So after we finish this podcast, I'm going to meet a new friend for a coffee.
Okay,
this sounds like Jerry Seinfeld so far. Go ahead.
I'm very excited because he's like the Southern staff writer for the New Yorker. Which is a job. His name is Charles Bethia. I didn't know it existed, but we're friends on Twitter, and I just really want like all this political stuff, all the Senate stuff that's happening in Georgia and Atlanta specifically is really hitting right now. So I feel like I'm going to get a line in from a fucking insider, and I love that.
So he is the Southern correspondent for the New Yorker.
Yeah.
Just like all things, or is it political specifically?
It's mostly political from what I've seen, but that also could just be because of the climate right now. But I've been following him for a while. He goes on CNN too as a talking head and stuff. It's just really, I just love to be on the inside of anything, as you know. So hearing
and this also kind of feels a little bit like a CB future dream job. Am I wrong?
Unfortunately, I'm probably not qualified for that.
I'm
lowly podcaster.
Chris, it's called a dream job. You know, some
see.
people's dream jobs are to be freaking LeBron James.
No, I can't be tethered to the machine like that, just hacking away as a full time.
Yeah, but the duality of New Yorker cultural elite mixed with that little bit of that Southern charm. And that sounds like you shake those things up into a little rocks glass, and boy, you got yourself a nice glass of sweet tea. I'm a big city writer for the New Yorker.
You're getting really excited about this trip. I can tell. We've started planning the Christmas menu. I'll need to get your feedback on it.
Oh, can you drop any sneak peeks on the pod right now?
Well, obviously there's lobster and there's some sort of
gifts
turf
from the sea.
to go
Some type of turf
to go with the surf. But other stuff, I mean, the pies have been ordered. Caviar is in the fridge, ready to put on top of a ruffle.
Damn, we had a good year over at the Black House. Okay, voting Republican do pay off.
Don't do that. But yeah, so it's coming together. I'll send you a note after. Alex wrote it all down today, so we have a full list.
Right. Since my life partner is by POC, is that going to be an issue, or will she have to eat in the car? How does this work?
We have a separate table set up for her, so it's fine. Maybe she can Zoom her family or something from that table. I don't know.
Don't throw her in the critter corner.
I don't know what they do on Christmas. You know what I mean? I don't know if they do something different. No, please. The Black household is quite inclusive and welcoming of all people of all shapes and sizes.
Yeah. Mama Black with arms wide open is coming through with the caviar on decky.
Scott Stapp voice. My mom has definitely never tried caviar, so this is going to be interesting.
Really? Why did we break it out? Did you have a coupon?
Well, it was sent to me by a client as a gift. So
what a cool client gift, I gotta say.
I know it's a young, cool guy too. It feels like a gift you'd get from your 50-year-old lawyer, but this guy's like a 25-year-old in-demand graphic designer. It's very cool,
mate. Yeah, I mean that's great, and I can't wait to eat his eggs.
But we might have to put you. I want to find a job for you because I don't like to. I know you're going to be straight off the plane, but I don't like when there's a kitchen and there's stuff being cooked and TJ in the mix. So, do you?
Okay,
are you saying? Do you want a night off? Like, do you? Because I would give it to you, but I also don't want your skills to go to waste.
Chris. I never want a day off when it comes to kitchen cookery. You know damn well.
Great.
I can't. It will be tough. I will be coming right off the plane. It'll be home court disadvantage for TJ, but it would be my honor to devil a couple eggs over there at the Black House.
We don't have a Wolf Range or a Sub-Zero, but there is a double oven, which I feel like is a nice. It's not nothing.
No Wolf at all, and there's nothing we can do about that. the timeline.
Chris, we have a week, so if you could just, I don't know what you got to do to figure it out.
We got a week.
We'll talk about this. We'll talk about this off pod, but we'll get a menu plan going. But we do have a guest today, a fucking legend, Jason. I love when we bring legends onto this lowly podcast. You might know him from Youth of Today, Gorilla Biscuits, Quicksand, Civ, Rival Schools. His name is Walter Schreifels, a New York hardcore legend, a real sweetheart of a guy. He is probably upstate, snowed in right now, but we're going to give him a little jingle, check in with him, see what he's been up to, hopefully get some stories from the good old days. And just before he comes on, this guy looks young as fuck. He looks great.
Oh yeah, I mean he's definitely like when I was like a little kid. I was listening to his music as he was touring around in a band, and him and I for sure look to be the same age.
It's crazy. He was born in 1969.
Damn. I mean, he doesn't, he's he an edge man or no?
I believe so, which is clearly
he lives a poison-free lifestyle. He's mentally, physically, and spiritually straight on, and whereas my mind has been truly muddied by drugs and alcohol over the years.
Yes, it has. Your mind is.
Yet I still
wasted.
maintain the straight edge.
Sure. Let's give him a call.
Bye.
Hey, fellas.
Looking good, baby. How are you?
Big Walt in the building.
Let's drink it up. Here it is.
We were literally just talking about this in our intro, but what are the secrets to aging the way you have? Because I mean, obviously the poison-free lifestyle must help, but there's got to be some other tips and tricks you could offer us.
Oh yeah, the poison-free thing definitely helps. That stuff, all the poisons. Drink water, because if any poison comes in, the water just rinses it right back out. That, and also, I took an oath to the youth crew, and that still is working out.
So you're saying the oath to the youth crew is actually a blood pact to keep you young?
Yeah, I mean, if you're young and you don't think it's a serious thing, but then you take it, and I'm one of the first people to have taken. Mm-hmm. And I don't know.
It literally has the word youth in the name. You know what I mean? It's a fountain of youth.
Early on, you know what I mean? Like, the power of manifestation of mental.
Yes.
I want this.
I've read The Secret, Walter. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, we're from.
So, do you know, or are you able to repeat the youth crew oath? Do you have that memorized?
Well, I'm
or
being.
Is it such, or is it something that?
Is it lyrics that you wrote at some point, or is this something else?
The ones that I would think of would be, I'm probably referencing Youth of Today's song, Youth of Today, which is like any good hardcore,
yes.
worth their salt. Bunch of songs, but one of their songs should actually be their mission statement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like Beastie Boys have a really awesome one. Gorilla Biscuits, my own band, took the cues, and we have a really good one. Youth Today's one was really cool in that it's just such a good sing-along, and it really just lays down, if you're in your teenage mind, it's still in my middle-aged mind, like a clear political, ethical message. And I think the lyrics go something like, I don't know, I have to look it up, but it's basic stuff. It's basically, take care of your health, try not to screw people over. Probably sounds a little corny. I had to look up the lyrics, but I think if you melted it down, I do think that there's something about it, even though I don't feel myself totally defined by that experience, but I do feel that I reap a lot of the that it's at a positive intent at a young age, which is cool. And I'm not saying like I give you guys compliments or something. I'm not saying that I have anything that other people can't find in other ways. But when I look back on it, I think at a time when a lot of people, when you're at that age of, you're a teenager, so you're kind of like stronger and you have some independence and you have a lot of that brain faculty. I mean, you might have your childhood traumas, but you're not as aware of them. So you have this sort of agency that it's a sort of a magical time of discovering that
personal agency, maybe at a time when you're strong enough and independent to put that in.
I agree with you 100%.
Before the crippling grip of adulthood realizations have taken hold and you lose a little bit of that youth.
It's going to drag you down the stairs, kids.
Wow.
And that's it. And that's if you're not drinking or using drugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're also getting drunk, then it's really going to drag you down those stairs and kick you a few times as well.
Yeah. So I think at that moment that of course, I sometimes think, I probably missed out on a lot of fun times too, like.
You did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm grateful for that perspective at that time, and I always, even though I'm not actively proselytizing straight edge lifestyle or right now, I think it informs. I feel like I'm still more straight edge than some of these guys that are claiming it now. Let's see how you do when you get to the point in life that I'm at.
I mean, life's ills come at you a little differently. I completely agree.
Walk me through some of your adulthood temptations.
I mean, I don't think that mine are any special, but I think you view as you go through life. I think the time that we're talking about, I think you have a real, I think you have the mental acuity to really put your finger on a lot of the bullshit that's going to come your way. And I think you're in a good position because you don't have a sort of a track record that, or if you do, it can be easily expunged due to youth and inexperience. But there's all kinds of stuff that's going to come your way. You're going to have to deal with relationships with different people. Life is going to challenge you, and that might break some of your idealism. And I don't think that means that you need to sell out what makes you.
See, it's very hard for me in my late 30s to not be pretty cynical most of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I try to let things breathe and be what they are and understand that sometimes it's not for me, but it's also like, that's stupid is my almost my initial instinct 80% of the time, which I've gotten better about, I think, in the last couple of years. But is that something you've suffered from as well? Or do you keep is the PMA still strong?
I mean, PMA, I think, is a nice thing to kind of dip back into when you're feeling garlic to a vampire or something like that. It's like some sort of concept that you can say, okay, I'm looking at it in a negative frame, and maybe if in a different frame, maybe it's not going to weigh me down as hard. And even through your own life, you may be shitty to someone, and you may never even know it. So like, oh, wow, I was shitty to that. I didn't behave.
Oh, for sure.
The way that I felt I should have. And then how do you then kind of bring that into your experience moving forward, and how do you?
No, I mean, you have to learn from all of that. No, absolutely. You have to learn.
But
from
also,
all that.
Chris, you could argue, or not argue, but say that maybe you having that kind of hating things or thinking things are dumb mentality has been your secret sauce or your thing, or the product that you give to the world. It's maybe you should double down and accept the fact that you have that opinion and people like it.
And I think people's brand of cynicism can be very helpful. It's coping. And in my circles, there's a lot of discussion of PMA, like keep the PMA, and I think that people kind of hold it like a crucifix against vampires in a way. PMA isn't going to really solve all your problems. You know what I mean? So being an adult is complex, and it's not because being an adult is some sort of thing that's bad. It's like the human experience, and as you go through life, you're going to encounter even a lot of the same situations. But because you've lived longer, it's upon you to handle them in a better way if you're trying to, if you're going to play the game well.
Because at the very least, you should know what won't work.
Yeah, I mean, and even if you don't know what will work, try to come at it from a different angle to see how that experience could then improve you for the next thing. I mean, that's maybe idealistic there, but I came up in the youth crew movement, bro.
I mean, I don't think I think a nice little dose of idealism is good for all of us, to be honest. I think but it does feel youthful in a way that you just haven't been beaten down by society yet. Like you're saying, that's 100% the truth. That's 100% the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you guys asked me what's my secret. You were true.
This is why we podcast, Walter. Don't get us wrong. This is why we podcast. Are you upstate? Did it blizzard for you?
It did. It's beautiful out here. It's my wife and I went out last night. So awesome, because the snow's so white, so it's reflecting up, and up here you just get a sense of, I don't know, when I'm up here, I always think about, and this maybe sounds corny, but I think of the Native Americans and the people that lived in this land before all this stuff was here. I just trip out on that, on that people would just live in this,
full silence, like removed.
Just that people, in the last couple hundred years, our culture has done its damnedest to like beat nature down. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, I'm just stepping outside of my house and in my yard where this white is just like the light is reflecting up everywhere. And I'm just thinking of all the critters. Like, I don't know if
it sounds very peaceful. And as a person who doesn't really like nature, did you come to this later in life, or were you always drawn to it?
I think I'm.
He's just always loved critters in general.
Yeah,
you're
critters.
Big critter guy.
Dude, I mean, we'd love to look at them. They're just little sweet guys.
Sure.
And I guess, I grew up in Rockaway Beach, so being near the ocean, I have a different nature appreciation. But up here, since COVID, I've been living up here since March, and so watching just the actual full cycle of the seasons up here. And New York is just so awesome for its range of seasons. I've grown a deeper connection and appreciation for it. And I don't know that it's like veering into, wow, man, nature hippie thing. That's not even bad if it were that way. Like, you know how we're made of water, and like, the moon cycles and goes through, all that kind of thing. Well, if you're immersed in nature, you start to attune to it, and you appreciate the slowness of it, coping with all this stimulation that is like kind of man-made consumerist ideology hitting you all the freaking time. There's no ideology up here, man. It's just critters. They're trying to live.
Just critters trying to go about their day.
So you when you're upstate, you get to experience, America before it was, taken away by consumerism and humankind fucked it in the ass.
Yeah.
You're getting that pure, uncut, raw dog nature and life.
I appreciate, and I'm not saying, I just of the mind of like, I accept what's kind of the hand that we're dealt right now. Like, I don't think that we can go back to be like Native American people and whatever they did. And I'm sure Native American lives had their problems too, but just the, taking a break, like for example, my IG account got hacked. So I'm not on IG right now.
Wait, by a bot or like a fan looking to do wrong?
Instagram sent me this message and that I had a copyright issue. I should have known better. And
come on, Walter. You've been in this game for too long to have a copyright issue. Come on.
I don't want to get sidetracked too hard on it. I don't know if I'm upset. I'm annoyed about this whole bullshit of not being on IG, but at the same time, I'm also I can feel a bit of space opened up in my consciousness. That while I do miss, looking into my friends' lives and knowing that they're okay or whatever's going on with them, and, maybe I'll put out my own message and people say, oh, yeah, great, that kind of thing. I don't think that's bad, but just not having that, I'm aware of other things. And that's what.
Well, how much time are you spending on the computer, though? You don't seem like a guy who has to be tethered to the machine. My screen time is way fucking up, obviously, but that's for me a little bit of that's just how it is, and I don't ever think about kind of taking a break because I'm afraid of what would happen.
Yeah.
What do you think would happen, Chris?
I just don't. I think it would honestly be like a full weird detox, like the same way it was for drugs. Like I think I would literally go through withdrawals. I think it's that. I do think it's actually that serious.
Yeah.
Like not to dramatize it, but I do think it's as real as people say it is.
100%.
Yeah.
We all suffer from it. Even people who are not as they're not on a 2-pack a day habit like you are, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, but I think that like this is just it though. This is not only our social lives, but this is our job. So it's like how much separation can you really have from it? When you have to do it to make money, it's like it's such a slippery slope.
Yeah, and I think that's the experience that we all have to deal with. There's no way. Like on the one hand, with my IG being hacked, I'm totally fine with it right now. But it's also business, you know what I mean? So like we're all involved in this interconnectivity through the computer that, we just don't know what it's doing to us, unless you're old enough to know the difference, between like the kind of phone, if you experience the kind of phones that you have to spin around and do that, then maybe you can see some sort of evolution in your own life of how that's different. But that's our world. We can't just like, oh yeah, I'm not into computers now, I'm into nature. Like
You know what? This computer thing, I'm over it, bro. I'm going back to the trees, man.
I do say it, that would be cool. And if everyone had an agreement, if there was some sort of movement, I don't want to say Luddite, but some sort of back to the land sort of movement, like where we all just bring in our computers and throw them on a big heap and bury them or something. Enough people did it, I would do it too. But the problem is that the people that don't do it are going to be, rooking us every chance they get.
It's true. We would lose that battle, unfortunately. We would definitely lose that battle. Did you have plans to tour this year and stuff that got sidetracked, or were you writing or something?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was booked through next year. I think it's like everybody, and I'm probably like a lot, but I know that I'm a lot better off than many people. If you work in the I do work in the bar industry essentially, but my engagement with it is more kind of here and there, it isn't like I'm there every night. So, I had a lot of shows booked and, so there's a bit of a financial hit to that, but,
sure.
Luckily I'm okay financially. And as far as like my experience of not engaging or playing shows or that kind of social aspect, and also that the part of you that my identity is
for sure. I mean, you've been doing this since you were a kid. I mean, it's like literally your life.
I'm always going to the fucking airport. I hate going to the airport.
Yeah, but Walter, airport sounds pretty good right about now, doesn't it?
But I would get a kick out of the airport now.
Yeah, exactly.
I love the airport. It's a weird thing about me. I show up early. I like to sit. I think it's the true cross section of society. Like, I think it's where you see people at their worst, and the biggest mix of people that you can see is at the airport. I think in America,
it is a fascinating space for sure. And when you're flying internationally too, I love when you end up where you can't really go into the country, but you're in this other like holding zone.
Yes. Purgatory.
It's I like being in that zone, and
I think we call that international waters, actually.
Yeah, maritime law applies there, my friend. But that also has a dark side of it called customs, where they make you sit for 11 hours and go through your luggage a bunch because they think there's drugs in there. A problem that you might not have as much as others.
Oh no! If you got cords, bro, you got problems.
Yeah,
especially post 9/11, because they were just as a matter of they just had to do it. There's a thing. I don't know if you guys are guitar players, but there's a thing called fast fret, which I don't know.
I'm familiar with. I didn't know you were shredding like that.
No, dude, I don't know where I got fast. It was because my tech got put it on. Fast fret is like this sort of grease.
Yeah.
Sort of cleans them, but it substitutes the dirt with this kind of like slimy.
It's like waxing a curb before you grind it on a skateboard, perhaps.
Yeah, good analogy.
I shred.
Fast fret is similar to a chemical they use in bombs.
No.
Yeah, when they went through everything for me, and it was like. I don't know if this is true for you guys, but whenever I get stopped, which I don't really get stopped too often, even though I have long hair.
Goddamn hippies.
Yeah, maybe they can feel my peace vibe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you look like you're Holden. I'll say that.
In my greasy lip vibe right now, but do you ever feel like when they stop you, like I'm always like, fuck, what did I do wrong? What do I have? I must have
Always. I'm always thinking I think for years of being guilty that now that I'm not, I tell this to Jason, as a former drug user, I love to speed now in rental cars because I don't have anything on me. So It's like, if you pull me over, yeah, give me a fucking ticket, losers. I don't care. I'm not going to jail. You know what I mean?
I used to feel that same way when I would finally pay my car registration and have my tags be up to date and be like, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. You feel like you're above the law.
Exactly. But yeah, I think that I do. This just happened to me recently with a candle at LAX. The bomb squad came over for a candle, and it was the same feeling where it's like, shit, what did I do? I'm sure I did something wrong. Like, this guy's like swabbing me.
When you got authority breathing over you, I'm just thinking, I don't know. Maybe I smell like it. Who knows?
Exactly. I've been hanging out with Jason too much. I smell like it. This is what this is what happens, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have you played basically everywhere that you can think of?
There's a couple of places I still never played Russia.
What country gets the biggest, gives you the biggest reaction when you guys are playing?
Different for different bands.
Yeah, let's go through the list. Actually, I think this is really interesting. So, which name a band and then name the best international territory for that band.
Okay. Well, I mean, most of them are going to be. It's going to be Los Angeles and New York. Any one of these bands.
We're talking foreign countries only.
I guess Gorilla Biscuit does really well. Pretty much, or it does really well for the the world. Gorilla Biscuits is really kind of a special thing because it exists within more than a music genre. It's like an actual kind of community organization, which is
it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle, and it's like anywhere in the world, we were very fortunate where we can go and bring people together. And that is amazing. That's not true for, say, Quicksand, who do really well, do best in the United States and, capital cities around the world. Like we can play,
Quicksand gives me like a Germany vibe. Were you guys successful in Germany?
We do well in Germany, although, the thing with Quicksand, and I think this is like I think we zigged when we should have zagged in certain respect. And so we went over to Germany the first time in Europe. But when we got signed to a major label, we just bypassed that world and ended up just like opening up for big bands and big clubs. So we kind of like not by any sort of intent, but just by getting swallowed up into this kind of big corporate world, we kind of bypassed the actual people that are the kind of people that went on to be, movers and shakers in a scene and that lineage that Gorilla Biscuit still, although Gorilla Biscuit wasn't even playing, still thrives within. And I think Quicksand, I wish that we had spent more time in the spots, to be honest.
Well, Quicksand, always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Is that what we're saying?
I think I'm totally content with how it all played itself out, but I can see from looking back, other bands eating Quicksand's lunch because they traveled in Germany, fucking opening for Living Colour. What was the point of that? And I enjoyed that experience quite a bit, but it wasn't in a van in Europe. That has more cultural impact moving forward.
Was Quicksand your first experience with a major label, though?
Yes, actually, that was the first time I got signed, and to me, that was just crazy. I mean, the music that I was making, I didn't see it as popular music at all. I was just doing this. It's not that I didn't appreciate what was happening. I really loved to travel. I loved being with my friends. I loved being creative, but I didn't see it as I didn't see it necessarily as art at that time. I didn't see it as a viable career path either.
So you're saying during the whole time, so you get this major label deal, you guys are doing, 120 minutes or whatever, and you still never saw it as like a career path?
No, I didn't. Or art. With a major label, I was where I had been living, in an apartment with two of my other friends that was probably like, 600 square foot apartment. And paying, $200 rent or something like that, living pretty low, but happy. Not being able to pay the electric bill and that kind of shit, to where I had, I got my own apartment. I got a little bit more sort of cachet in some way.
The good life, baby. That's what happens when you sign on the dotted line.
You can order as many videos from Blockbuster as you please.
Yeah.
Willing to play the late fee. That was,
I was legit. I had a credit card, things that like, just a year before, like, these were markings of success. And
so you were also a goddamn sellout though, weren't you?
I struggled with that very hard, no joke, like, especially at that time, the scene that I had come up in, especially as a kind of devotee of the kind of Ian MacKaye Discord school of thought, where music shouldn't be commodified. That weighed on me very heavily. It just was kind of overwhelming. There was band meetings. It was like, dude, I don't think we should we should sign to a major label. As a matter of fact, I want to start a noise band. I wanted to like get away from it, which was in hindsight, I could look at it from a way more measured, to be like, it doesn't have to be all. You don't have to be your idealized Noam Chomsky vision of what Mackay would do.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or be, in some noise band that no one cares about except for this.
But making music for a living, I mean, that seems like the goal for anybody, kind of, if that's what you're doing. You know what I mean? If that's what if you want to be making music, if that's what makes you happy, then making a living doing it is kind of a dream, and it's rare for almost everyone. It doesn't happen to most people.
It was hard for me to fight that argument, and so that's why ultimately, through probably, my girlfriend at the time going, dude, it's not going to work out with us if you're in the fucking stupid noise.
Look, we've all had that discussion with different terms thrown in, but we've all had that talk in this.
You ain't getting no pussy unless you start doing these corporate gigs. I've heard that before.
Exactly. If Amazon calls, we answer it, baby. All right, Quicksand is playing.
Well, Walter, do you have any examples of artists or bands that you feel like have been able to do it, the right way? Like they've found that success, they've used a major label, but they've still stayed true to themselves. I mean, other than Moby.
Absolutely, and I think it's not only happening in music. A lot of my friends that are in media, are faced with those kind of things, or like. Tech or something like that. All these companies are fucked up. If you dig deeper into it, and you don't want to participate in a fucked up system because of how you nurtured your skills and your point of view was through a certain kind of ideology or idealism, and you don't want to lose that spark. But I think that there's good people who can manipulate the system.
Just doing it your way, Frank Sinatra style.
Yeah, you're playing the game. It's like a game. My daughter loves the show Survivor. Maybe that's not even a good example.
No, but like when you can see a contestant on Survivor where you're like, oh, this person loves the game itself, and they believe that the way you play it, there's an art to it in itself.
They appreciate the game, and like because you have to deal with certain things, you're still the person you are at home. And Survivor's a fucking game. But anyway, for example. Radiohead. Let's just go straight to the top.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan, but here's a band that, was kind of thrown out there, signed a major label deal. I don't know what their ideology was, or if they had conflicts about it, or if they thought they were going to go to the top. When they reached their successful, popular, and respected artistic band, and then they kind of had this massive popular, miracle of circumstances to where like everyone in the popular mind agreed to it, where they were rich and could do whatever the hell they want, instead of just, churning out whatever the hell had gotten them there. They've continued to arc in their own creative way, and by doing that, artistic level, but on a business level, I'm sure they've been written about in like Forbes magazine for like.
Yeah, I remember they were one of the first bands to sell their album independently on their own website, just to buy the MP3s, and they were like, yeah, we don't need a label because we just made $3 million in 10 minutes selling our album on Radiohead.com.
That's amazing. So there's a great example, and the kind of Ian Mackay model, they're kind of a unicorn, though.
Totally. That's almost impossible to replicate.
Yeah, for our listeners at home who aren't familiar with the Ian Mackay model or Discord records or anything like that, they would have a thing that said like, don't pay more than, what was it, $5?
$5 for this record. Shows were always $5 too.
Yeah, I mean, they're very ethically minded and very ideologically driven in a way that treats the music with respect as of valuable art in a way, but not in an overtop, in a very kind of egalitarian way, really to be admired and to be learned and to factor into your business model. But if you're not making money, you're worried about money. And if you're worried about money, you're not
you're creating art from a place of commerce.
Exactly. It's a difficult, it'll crush you. Capitalism's out to get you, So I think
but like a band like let's take Fugazi, for example. Fugazi's been like very successful, I would say, for like an underground, quote unquote band. Were they on Discord the whole time?
Fugazi were on Discord the whole time. And of course, like when Nirvana hit, there was definitely, people throwing all kinds of money at them. And as an example to kind of extrapolate to like, I guess the point I was trying to make before, just like the people within the major label system, there were people that were in A&R positions that had been hired by people above them that didn't know who the fuck Fugazi was. They didn't know they didn't understand it. They hired these hotshot kids, gave them credit cards to figure it out for them. Okay, so the reason they got those jobs because they might have like written a fanzine. They might have understood why this movement was important and why it was going to be the thing for the next whatever few years. So they were throwing probably Fugazi like, Ian, we will give you $1 million. Yeah, $1 million. Let's go. And the people who were hip probably knew not to even call him on that.
And thank God Ian doesn't need a yacht or anything like that to
yeah,
validate
he's not,
his success.
No, and he's very successful, but he's not like, that's not what feeds him. I think what feeds him is the success of his own philosophy and the never-ending fun in like trying to create new music and put things into the world and see what comes back. And I think he's an example for that.
It is pretty crazy, though, to think about the fact that this guy literally created a way of living for not to dramatize it, but he really did, like a way of living that is now, whatever, I don't know how old, but it's lived on generationally. I can't imagine what that feels like. It's such a crazy, to me, it's the weight of it is even greater than like, when someone's written a hit song that's just truly like lasts the test of time. I can't imagine what it feels like.
He's sort of unprecedented in a way. I just saw the Frank Zappa documentary, and maybe he had some of this, but in such an asshole way. Sorry, Zappa fans.
Don't worry. I don't know how many Zappa heads listen to this show.
There's not a ton tuned in right now. Don't worry.
He is insufferable.
Let us pray, Walt.
Anyway, but where Ian's music is obviously so strong, but that he's really, I think, powerful based on his impact is not only musical, but is the reasoning behind it. And the idea, of course, there was independent record labels before Ian. There was even independent record labels in the 60s, but they were based on the idea of like, consumer making money. And so, in the punk days, like you wanted to make a record because how else do you exist? The idea of DIY, that had maybe existed before him. Of course it did. But the way that he was able to, through his music and through his action and his choices, to present this sort of philosophy that I certainly picked up on, and
same. But it was very clear. It was very easy to understand too. That thing. It's really, I think that's the beauty of all of that stuff. It's really not that complicated.
Much like the For Dummies book series.
Exactly.
How to not do drugs and still be cool.
Yes, exactly. Exactly, dude.
The thing is that took me a while to kind of wrestle with was, and I think in the coming up in the straight edge scene, which is obviously so
badass,
influenced by his, his making this amazing band that was so good, and connecting this idea of, for his own, I don't think he was trying to spark some movement, I think he would say certainly that he wasn't, but that that ideal that is being presented is that you have to glean the parts of it that work for you. Having a tour bus was like an embarrassment, and so that was because it was such a sign of corporate power. But having a tour bus fucking rules. It's awesome.
It's life changing. If touring is your job, that's the only way to do it, but I think by the time Jason and I were in, that the sellout word still existed, but it's completely evaporated now. It's not a thing that exists. And I think it's just waned over time. And I think that making money as a musician at this point, and I'm sure you've learned this over the years with, licensing deals and all the different shit you've done, that's how you do it. You know what I mean? If a Rival School song is in a Chrysler commercial, you're good for 2 years. It's like it really matters.
Sure. I wish they would call. It's ironic. Maybe a couple of years ago, I got a call from on a huge license for a Civ song that I wrote. The money was insane. It was $250,000.
Let's go.
And I was like, holy motherfucking shit. The whole time.
Yeah, you were already ordering your Christmas goose to cook that year, weren't you?
Wait, does this song, or did you own it outright too? Like, are you the single writer?
I have the majority share. So
okay.
Well, I feel like you were about to say about how you didn't get the $250,000.
So that's like, I just see that figure and I'm like, holy shit. And then I read it more carefully. The only catch is that it's for Kentucky Fried Chicken. I wrote a letter, tried to sound, read an email back. It's like, I appreciate the offer, but it's not something we can do right now. They wrote back and they said, I'm just curious why you,
what's wrong with you?
was money not enough?
Ooh.
Oh my God! You could have gotten 300. But
and your wife is looking at that email like, you son of a bitch.
And
that's like.
And I wrote back, no, the money is actually really good, but I'm a vegetarian. The guys in the band are vegetarian. Just don't feel comfortable having our song used in advertising, chicken. And yet the guy never responded again. He didn't respond. He's just. You're a fucking loser, dude. I'm not.
Yeah, I would have just wrote back, we're a Popeyes household. I'm so sorry. We can't accept this offer.
I'm sorry. We're not going to be able to do that.
I wish I did that.
This reminds me of I remember getting a Civ guitar pick and a bag of Doritos, which I'm sure you remember doing that deal.
Interesting.
Doritos is a good company.
No, I remember that being like a thing. People are like, yo, did you see there's a Civ guitar pick and Doritos? And even when I was that young, I was like, that seems pretty cool to me. I don't know what the big deal is.
It was shifting, and it's interesting, in those days, if you're in it coming up in the scene we came up in, the venues are small, but if you can make a 7-inch and you can sell it for a certain amount of money, you could potentially get someone to make this record for you, and you could make enough money to get gas down and stuff like that. But as Nirvana hits and bands start getting yanked out of that world, the people that are left behind fucking hate you. So obviously that change is going to create this sort of sellout friction until all the ones that from that scene, get the offers that they're waiting for. As record sales, become eliminated, Napster era and all that kind of stuff. Where the fuck are you going to get money to run your game?
Fucking Doritos. That's where you're going to get it.
And the Doritos thing was early. So then, and the people that were cool were in the scene, writing fanzines, booking shows, etc. These are the kinds of people that
eat Doritos,
or get hired by them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, you're right.
Walter, are you more of a nacho cheesier or a Cool Ranch fella?
I'm also vegan, so I don't fuck with Doritos.
But Doritos, they're a very good company. I do not fuck with them at all.
They're great. Frito-Lay is a great company.
Okay,
I would support all of.
Okay, Walter, let's say you're going to eat like a Whole Foods version of the Doritos, maybe a Late July brand tortilla chip that uses a vegan spice blend. Are we a Cool Ranch or are we a nacho cheesier?
It's a kind of I'm gonna Mitt Romney this one. I'm gonna take both.
Yeah, as an elder vegetarian person who's come up through all of the fake meat world, where do you stand on like the Impossible Burger and fake cheeses and ice creams and all that stuff?
The vegan ice creams are amazing, but I just got my blood work done and my cholesterol's a little higher than it's just a teeny bit, and I think it's because I've been eating Beyond Beef sausages in the morning. And I haven't been questioning it, but these motherfucking things are not healthy for you.
Yeah.
I'm known as anti-Beyond. I just feel like it's not good for you.
I like the idea of Walter's doctor looking at the chart and being like, all right, how many vegan sausages have we been putting down? Be honest.
that's my own diagnosis. Like, and it's funny. Like, the doctor must have just thought it was weird. It's like, what do you think about these Beyond products? I'm having the same conversation. I'm not like, putting my nose up at Beyond products because I like them.
Because they have advertisements and they could possibly license a song for those advertisements. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, we want to go beyond $250,000.
Yeah, we want to go beyond $250,000. Before we let you go, last time we spoke, you did give us an amazing Danzig story that I would feel bad if we didn't share with our listenership. So if you could just walk us through your experience with the legend, that would make us just tickle us to death.
Quicksand opened for Danzig in Buffalo. His stage setup was basically for Madison Square Garden. The Skull, for those who aren't familiar with Danzig, he was the singer of the band The Misfits, and really cool kind of comic book aesthetic in all of his work. And it's just fun. It's sort of like, the Kiss meets the Ramones. I would.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's actually a very good description of that. I agree.
So imagine if Kiss has to play like this kind of roadhouse in Buffalo. The horn of the skull is almost hitting the lighting trestle. And
we're cramming 10 pounds of production in a 5-pound sausage, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And so I'm backstage, and we're kind of our backstage room, of course, just like the typical, just like assholeness. Where you just put the opening band who you could give a flying fuck about in the like closet where you keep your road cases. That was our backstage. We're sitting in there with all these like road cases, and there's this one road case open with these like 4 sort of cylinder kind of things sticking out of it. We're just sitting there like wondering what the fuck is this and then this kind of mistress of the night comes in and throws these boots on it, and it's Eerie Vaughn's boot warmer. Eerie Vaughn comes in for his boots and just talks to us, and just like how one talks to sort of like when you're a medieval
addressing yes.
You're just saying whatever bullshit comes to your mind to the little loser.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, what you say to them really doesn't matter.
You have no power over whether things go one way or the other. And but we were just graced by his presence. Danzig's nowhere to be seen, and he just rolls out and just like, babes, 2 of them, one on either side. I swear one of them was a redhead. The other one was like a viciously brunette. Babes. And some other just like blank, kind of like a henchman behind him doing like all kinds of cool shit the whole time, and just came out, rocked the stage, and he was amazing. But it was just cool to watch, like in Spinal Tap, like the early shows of the Spinal Tap tour, they're kind of good. You know what I mean? Like Danzig was kind of at that level. I think Danzig does have a sense of humor for sure in playing with the cliches of what he does. But as
all short guys do.
Yeah. So as I was expecting this fucking just asshole rock star, and without him doing anything to me that was humiliating, he really delivered. He was awesome. He deserves it. He played Madison Square Garden with Misfits last year, and I went to the show.
Yeah.
And it was fucking awesome to see him living in the venue that he always pictured himself. It was very cool.
Damn, that is poetic.
Danzig realized.
Danzig fully realized.
It was good to see, and everybody in that room and people that are bigger Misfits fans than I was, experiencing it all together in this massive, place. It was fucking awesome and poetic, and so having had that experience back then to seeing it actually
full circle.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait for the HBO biopic on Danzig. Who is going to play him? Like the Behind the Candelabra.
Oh,
that's a great question.
I don't know. I mean, he's gonna whoever it is gonna have to fucking beef up, man. He's gonna.
Yeah, Steve Buscemi is gonna have to start doing some creatine.
Walter, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to chat with you. Guys, go check out all of his work. It's easily available on the internet. He's given us years and years and years of music. It's all worth checking out.
And if you work at a creative agency that books music for commercials, choose one of his band songs. He will gladly sell out as long as you maintain a vegan or a vegetarian friendly product.
Draw the line at chicken commercial. Does not happen.
Copy that.
We all have a line, Walter. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
God bless you.
Later, bro.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.